Hey people, welcome to the channel, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about this. This is the new Saucony Ride 15, and in this video I'm going to tell you whether or not this latest generation of the Ride series is better than the Ride 14, which I quite liked, and if it's better than the other shoes that are out there in the very, very competitive daily trainer market. So let's take a look. But guys, one word before I get into reviewing this shoe. One thing that really helps me on the channel is if you could kind of show some support. Hit like, hit subscribe, comment, ask me questions about the shoe as you're going through this review, but also don't forget to share the channel with friends, other runners, who like-minded people who might want to be finding the perfect shoe for them. It'll help me make more videos to help everyone find the shoes that can hopefully make them run happy, which is kind of what I like doing. So yeah, all the support is very welcome, but yeah, let's get on with the review. So the Saucony Ride 15 is designed to be used as a versatile daily trainer. There are some big noticeable changes to what we've seen before in this kind of series. There's a new midsole, and that includes much more but lighter and softer PWRRUN midsole foam. So just like previous generations, the Ride 15 are designed to be used as a versatile daily trainer, and with this latest generation there are some noticeable changes to what we've seen before. For a start, there's a higher stack to the midsole. There's a new midsole kind of geometry as well, and that includes more but lighter and softer PWRRUN midsole foam. There's a bit more flexibility in the forefoot too. There's also a more cushioned PWRRUN plus sock liner in there to bring a little bit more protection and softness to the overall ride underfoot. And despite that extra stack and extra cushioning, the shoe still manages to shave off around 30 grams compared to the Ride 14. It now comes in at 249 grams or 8.8 ounces in the men's, or 221 grams or 7.8 ounces in the women's. Those stack heights have gone from 32 mils in the rear and 24 mils in the forefoot in the Ride 14, up to 35 mils in the rear and 27 mils in the forefoot. You're still getting an 8 mil drop though, that's the same as the Ride 14. Another change here is that there are also some slightly higher sidewalls, and so that makes the foot sit a little deeper in the shoe and for a more secure fit. This is not unlike Hoka's bucket seat kind of feel idea. On the top there are changes to the uppers too. You've got breathable form-fit mesh uppers, but they are slightly thinner than they were on the Ride 14, and that makes for a little bit more of a breathable, airy kind of fit. There's still plenty of flexibility, and there's still a good level of cushioning in the heel collars and the tongue, though in both cases that has also been reduced, which is probably where some of the weight saving comes as well. Flip them over, and on the outsole there appears to be more rubber on the original kind of Ride 14 than there is on the Ride 15, but what you're getting on the Ride 15 looks to me like there's extra kind of rubberized grip pattern to give you extra traction. In terms of price, the Saucony Ride 15 are going to come in at £130 in the UK and $140 in the US. So onto the run test then, and I have done around 40 miles on the Saucony Ride 15. I've done my usual kind of mix of kind of paved roads, tarmac, and then some compacted river paths, which are a little bit uneven, a few kind of stones, and a bit, they're good at testing out how the outsoles sort of bear up with the durability as well. Now, I was a massive fan of the Ride 13 and the Ride 14. I know that some people didn't quite like them because they felt they weren't quite soft enough, but I quite like that kind of firm ride, that directness, and I thought they were quite a good versatile shoe with a good range where you could run easy right up to kind of doing kind of faster sort of interval stuff if you were mixing that up. Let's say if you were going for a marathon interval session where some of the miles that you were going to do were going to be at marathon pace, and then you were doing kind of slower recoveries in between, or progression runs. I thought the Ride were a good shoe for that. I found they were sort of comfortable on the foot. They had that kind of easy day comfort as well, so they were very easy to put on and go and running. Now, one thing that we've got some big changes here with the Ride 15. I think Saucony has tried to answer some of the criticisms around that kind of firmness of ride, and particularly when you put it up in comparison with a lot of the kind of shoe market, which has moved towards kind of higher stacks and kind of softer foam that has a kind of squish and response. I think the changes here that you're seeing are an attempt to kind of address some of that. What you're trying to do is they've got a bigger, higher stack of midsole foam. The overall shoe though is lighter. So what they've tried to do is, cut some weight, have a little bit more cushioning, a bit more softness, but retain that kind of daily trainer versatility. So have they managed it? Well, in my opinion, I feel like they might have actually I think they might have taken us a step back with this shoe. For me, I think that softness underfoot and the overall kind of feel, although it's a lighter shoe, for some reason I feel like this runs a little bit heavier on the foot. I feel a little bit more ploddy in it. I do feel like it's a very, very capable, easy day trainer. I happily go out and run my kind of slow miles in it. But when I want to kick up those paces, I just don't find that I get what I got from the original rides. And that was one of the things that I liked most about it, that kind of versatility. So I just feel a little bit more sort of soggy, a bit more sodden. There's a bit more kind of hard work when you're kind of pushing those higher paces. And that softness, you know, does offer protection. It does sort of eat up some of the impact of the ground, but you know, it's not so good when you push up those paces. Some of the versatility has gone. The range of this shoe has gone compared to the Ride 14. Now, why is that a really big problem? Well, when you look at it, I would have put this in the bracket of something like a Velocity Nitro 1, a Puma Velocity Nitro 1. And I would have put the Ride 14 kind of almost on a par with that shoe. I ran a marathon in both of those when I did it. I did 7 marathons in 7 days, and I used both of those shoes in, I think, like third or fourth day or whatever within that. And they ran quite similarly over that distance, you know. Bit of protection, you know, easy when, you know, doing those kind of miles at sort of, I was like 9-10 minute miling for those runs, and they both did quite well over the marathon distance. Now though, when you've got the Puma Velocity Nitro 2, a new shoe that is actually quite remarkable and actually has improved from the Velocity Nitro 1, you know, it's actually taken a step on in terms of its kind of ability and its range and its versatility. When you put that up against this Saucony Ride 15, I think the comparison isn't such a good one. Actually, I think this Ride 15 has taken a step back, Velocity Nitro 2 has taken a step forward, and the Velocity Nitro 2 comes in, you know, £30 cheaper still. So, you know, the Ride 15 faces more competition now. I kind of understand why they've done it, because I think there's been a big push for shoes that are softer. And I'm saying, you know, I like a firm shoe, so you have to bear that in mind. I like a shoe that's quite direct, where I kind of feel like I've got the ground there under my foot. I know that plenty of you out there don't. So actually, Saucony might have made a shoe that you guys prefer, so it might be worth checking out. You might want to dismiss everything I say here. Go, well, actually, Kieran, that's the shoe that we really wanted all along. They might have made it. But for me, as a daily trainer, it just now lacks a little bit of that versatility, even though I've actually really enjoyed running in the shoe. Now, you can see where I think they've kind of saved a lot of the weight in the shoe. A lot of the padding has gone from around the kind of heel collar compared to the Ride 14 here that I've got in my hand. The tongue is thinner. There's less padding all the way down on the tongue into the shoe. So there's a bit of weight saving going to happen there. The uppers, I think, on the Ride 15 are better than the Ride 14. They're a little bit less dense. They're a bit thinner. And I think they actually make for a bit more of a flexible kind of roomy feel on the toe box, and I really like that. There's also a few little changes here. They've got a different kind of lacing structure. You've got this kind of side hooks here that I think draw the midsection of the foot across a bit more and give you a bit more of a lockdown fit. So overall on fit, you know, I ran true to size in these, and I would totally recommend running true to size in them. No problems at all with fit. And that worked really well for me. The lacing worked really well. They've also gotten rid of these kind of super soft sort of padded laces here and gone for a more traditional lace. Again, all of that I think is done to sort of cut the weight out of the shoe so they can get a bit more of that kind of PWRRUN midsole foam in here to give you that extra cushioning. Other thing I can really notice, if you do a little bit of a squeeze test on these ones, you can see in the forefoot, they compress quite a lot. And there, look, in the midfoot there, and even in the back, you're getting quite a lot of compression. You know, if you tried the Ride 14 back along, they're definitely, particularly in the rear there, they're definitely a lot firmer back here than these guys. So if you strike a little bit further back in the shoe and you were worried about the firmness, you won't get enough protection, you wanted a bit more softness, you're going to get it from the Ride 15 more than you did from the Ride 14. So a quick word on stability then. Sometimes when you've got a bigger stack of kind of squishier midsole foam, you lose a bit of stability overall. But actually on this, I think that Saucony has managed to pull that off. I don't feel you actually are sacrificing a lot of stability for that extra cushioning, particularly I think as a lot of the softness comes a bit further back of the heel. I tend to run mid to forefoot, so you'll notice that a bit more if you land a bit further back. But I found that these shoes, in terms of stability, ran pretty much the same, and they are still a good shoe in terms of that. I think you've got a good platform to run off, good kind of wide. You've got a good kind of wide forefoot base here, and I think that bit works really well. That was a real big help, kind of deeper into longer miles in both shoes, and the Ride 15 still carry that. One other thing, in the Ride 14, you had like a little bit of a gusseted tongue, but it wasn't a full. This kind of gusset, the wrap goes right down inside the foot. So if you don't like that, that's going to be another consideration here. This does kind of, it is controlled, but I find that actually keeps the tongue nicely in place. I quite like that sensation of having that kind of, it's not quite as tight as like a sock-like fit, but it does kind of hold things nicely in place on this. Verdict on the Saucony Ride 15 then. Well, I was a massive fan of the Ride 13 and the Ride 14. As I've said, I like a bit more of a direct shoe. And I think I was one of the people who's putting my hand up saying this is a really good versatile shoe if you like a little bit more kind of ground contact coming through. A lot of other people didn't. So Saucony has reacted to that, I think, and put a lot more kind of padding and cushioning underfoot. I just think that that's taken an edge off the shoe. I think it's made it a little bit more kind of pondersome than the last generation. Does add a bit more protection perhaps, but I think what you're sacrificing for that protection is a little bit less kind of usefulness at the top end when you're trying to push sort of higher, faster paces. And then as a versatile daily trainer, I think that's a big detractor because I'm less comfortable running at kind of marathon paces in this one than I was in the previous generations of shoes. So it makes it, for me personally, less useful if I'm doing those kind of runs where marathon pace comes into the equation. I feel it also just, I don't know, it's not heavier, but on the foot, I just feel like there's more shoe going on. It feels a little bit less nimble, a little bit less agile, and yeah, a little bit more pondersome. That said, it's a comfortable shoe. I mean, it's a nice shoe to run in. I'm just very happy going out and running like my easy miles in it. And as an easy shoe, if you put it in that bracket, I think actually there's a lot to be said for it. It is a comfortable shoe to go and run in. It's got a nice on the foot feel, sort of disappears on the foot. But, and here's the big but in the verdict, it's £130. It's £30 more expensive than the Puma Velocity Nitro 2. I think it now comes into a bracket with something like the Cloud Monster or even the Nike Infinity React with how it runs. And it might beat those shoes, but when you compare it to the versatility of something like the Velocity Nitro 2, I'd be recommending the Velocity Nitro 2 all day long. I just think it's got more capability, and for the price, it represents more of a bargain. So yeah, it's a kind of like, well, okay, I get what you've done, Saucony, but for me personally, I don't think you've quite pulled it off. That said, if you put the Ride 14 aside because it wasn't quite soft enough and you wanted a bit more softness and that would have been your ideal shoe, then maybe this one will actually be perfect for you. So it might be worth checking out if that sounds like that was you. So there you have it. That has been my review of the Saucony Ride 15 with a slight comparison to the older generation of the Ride 14 thrown in for good measure. If you have any questions about this shoe, don't forget to hit me up in the comments below. I'll endeavour to answer all of those, as many as I can get to. Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe, ring the bell on the channel, share this review with other friends who might need new running shoes. Don't forget to share the channel with people. All of that kind of helps me make more of these videos, keeps the kind of support flowing in so I can carry on trying to help you guys find the shoes that will work for you. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it and I hope to see you again soon.